Prince Harry has vanished from his home in Montecito after a confidential DNA report reportedly revealed Archie and Lilibet may not be his biological children. No announcements, no explanations, just silence and distance. Security has tightened. Meghan has gone quiet. And insiders say the prince is emotionally wrecked. A private confrontation, a sealed dossier, and a shaken royal lineage. The fallout is beyond anything the monarchy has faced in recent memory. The question echoing across the world, what if it's true? Prince Harry leaves his home after his DNA doesn't match with his kids. The night was cold in Montecito when Prince Harry opened the envelope that would shatter everything. The pages were stiff, sealed with a wax stamp bearing an unfamiliar insignia. Not Buckingham Palace, not Clarence House, but something older, colder, quieter. The heading read, Internal Lineage Verification Report. 3 pages, 3 names, 3 unmatched sequences. He didn't speak. He didn't scream. According to a house staffer, he simply stood there, still as stone, hands trembling, face hollowing with each line he read. The report, part of a fictitious internal inquiry, alleged a lineage inconsistency between Prince Harry and the 2 children the world knew as Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana. No detail was given, no explanation offered, but the language was clinical and final. Biological relationship inconsistent with expected royal lineage markers. Within hours, Prince Harry left his Montecito residence without security, phone, or warning. He drove aimlessly through the Santa Ynez Hills until sunrise. Paparazzi never caught him, but insiders say he stayed at a remote estate once used for high-level diplomatic retreats. His team had no idea where he was. Meghan said nothing. The Sussex estate locked down, private security doubled, digital communications restricted. Meghan's PR team refused all media contact, breaking a pattern of active rebuttals. One staffer close to the couple simply said, "Whatever this is, it's bigger than press." Inside the palace, in this fictional world, no official response came. But sources close to Clarence House whispered the phrase that would soon trend globally. "He's left? Completely left." The story exploded within hours. Social media feeds filled with wild theories. Tabloid headlines screamed betrayal, and talk shows questioned the very fabric of the Sussex narrative. For a family that had built its modern identity on escape, freedom, and protection, this was an emotional demolition. In this imagined world, the silence wasn't denial. It was suffocation. The Secret Palace Dossier, DNA, Disputes and Denial. The truth, or what the palace believed to be the truth, came from a folder marked only for internal use, R/127. Inside it, medical evaluations, legal reviews, and historical records dating back to the 1917 letters patent. The dossier, fictional in nature, was never meant for public eyes. It was born not of vengeance, but of procedure. Palace genealogical experts allegedly began investigating after a string of inconsistencies surfaced in royal record-keeping. Not dramatic, not accusatory, just off. A baptism unregistered, a birth certificate amended post-issuance, a christening with no Church of England record. All of it had plausible explanations until it didn't. A senior aide, fictionalized here as Lord Hawthorne, initiated the verification process quietly. No one expected the results to spark an international reckoning. "He asked the question no one dared," said a fictional palace source. "What if everything we assumed is wrong?" The final report was compiled, cross-checked, and reviewed by legal experts and church officials. When it was delivered to a royal contact in California, a fictional baron who had remained friendly with Harry, it came with no instructions, only urgency. When Harry read it, he didn't lash out, but insiders say he stared for hours at a single sentence. Biological non-confirmation does not constitute identity denial. It made no sense. Or maybe it made too much sense. According to those close to him, Harry left the house that night whispering two phrases: "I need air. I need answers." And from that moment forward, nothing was the same. Meghan under fire. Timeline, truth, and tension. In the calm after Harry's disappearance, Montecito grew cold, not physically, but atmospherically. The warm glow of the Sussex household, once filled with PR buzz, press releases, and carefully timed appearances, fell completely still. Meghan Markle said nothing. That silence became its own form of crisis. Speculation erupted about timeline discrepancies, mostly tied to 2019 to 2021. In this fictional world, royal watchers noticed that Archie's birth announcement had been unusually vague. Photos were delayed. The birth location was concealed. And later, Meghan's name was quietly removed from the birth certificate, replaced only with Her Royal Highness. At the time, it was chalked up to privacy. Now, every detail was re-examined under a darker lens. "It's like someone left breadcrumbs," one fictional tabloid editor said. "And we ignored them all." Private whispers turned public. If Harry didn't know, did Meghan? If she did know, who else helped her maintain the illusion? Was this a misunderstanding of royal protocol, or a masterclass in manipulation? The media, in this imagined crisis, began pulling archived footage. Meghan's interviews, her speeches, her carefully curated statements about family, lineage, and truth. Against the backdrop of a DNA scandal, those clips began to feel haunting. Yet still, she said nothing. No lawsuits, no rebuttals, no counter-narratives. A former palace aide was quoted as saying, "She's not silent because she's innocent. She's silent because silence is the only card she has left." And behind that silence, one final question echoed. Was this all a misunderstanding? Or was it a betrayal carefully staged from the very beginning? Prince Harry's collapse. From father to questioning everything. When Prince Harry finally stopped moving, he didn't return home. He didn't call Meghan. He didn't call his lawyers. Instead, he sat alone in a guest room at a secluded Santa Barbara estate, staring at nothing for hours. Those closest to him described it not as anger, but collapse. This was not the rage of betrayal. It was the devastation of identity loss. In this imagined crisis, Harry wasn't questioning love first, he was questioning himself. Every memory replayed with new meaning. First words, first steps. Late nights pacing the nursery. Moments he had once anchored his sense of purpose to now felt fragile, almost unreal. A source close to Harry described the moment bluntly. He didn't feel lied to. He felt erased. The shadow of Princess Diana returned in full force. Harry had spent his life fearing abandonment, fearing deception, fearing the press would steal his truth again. Now, the threat wasn't external. It was internal. A wound that couldn't be blamed on tabloids or palace coldness. In this fictional account, Harry reached out to Prince William for the first time in over a year. The call was brief, awkward, painful. No shouting, no accusations, just one sentence from William before the line went quiet. "You already know what you need to do." That sentence haunted him. Harry reportedly asked aides two questions over and over that night. "Have I failed them? Or have I been used? Mental health appearances were quietly cancelled. Therapy sessions paused. His team described him as unreachable, distant, barely present. For a man who once spoke openly about trauma, this silence felt ominous. Because, for Harry, this wasn't about public humiliation. It was about the one role he believed defined him, father, suddenly placed in doubt. And once that certainty cracked, everything else followed. The children in question, Archie and Lilibet's royal legitimacy shattered. In this imagined royal reckoning, the most painful casualties were not Harry or Meghan, but Archie and Lilibet. Two children too young to understand titles, lineage, or the chaos unfolding around their names. Within palace corridors, quiet reviews began. Not with cruelty, with procedure. Royal historians and constitutional advisors revisited the 1917 letters patent. The same document, created during World War I to protect the crown from false claims and instability. Its language is unforgiving. Lineage is law. Bloodline is authority. One detail carried particular weight: Lilibet's baptism. In this fictional scenario, it was never formally recognized by the Church of England. No registry, no royal chaplain, no archival record. At the time, it seemed like a personal choice. Now, it became a fault line. Legal analysts whispered what the public hadn't yet heard. If lineage couldn't be confirmed, royal status could not stand. Updated internal family trees quietly removed references to Archie and Lilibet. No announcements, no statements, just absence. A historian involved in the review summarized it coldly. The palace doesn't punish, it corrects. The implications were enormous. Without confirmed status, prince and princess titles could not apply. Protection arrangements were re-evaluated. Ceremonial inclusion vanished. The children weren't rejected. They were excluded by protocol. Critics called it heartless. Palace insiders called it unavoidable. Because within the monarchy, emotion does not override structure. And children, no matter how innocent, cannot exist outside the rules that define royal identity. Meghan's silence. Tactical pause or internal collapse. While Harry unraveled, Meghan Markle went completely still. No statements, no interviews, no lawyers on television. For a woman known for shaping narrative with precision, this silence was unsettling. And in this fictional drama, those closest to her said it wasn't accidental, it was defensive. Inside the Montecito estate, a crisis room allegedly formed. Legal consultants, reputation strategists, former political handlers. The instruction was singular: contain everything. Plans for a follow-up tell-all interview were scrapped. Oprah was off the table. So were documentaries. Meghan's focus, according to a fictional source, was absolute narrative control. If you speak too early, one advisor warned her, you lose everything. But silence came with its own cost. Public trust eroded. Even longtime supporters hesitated. Social media quieted not in defense, but in waiting. And waiting can be deadly. Privately, insiders debated which Meghan was real in this moment. The devastated mother or the strategist calculating her next move? No one could say. One former staffer offered a haunting observation. When Meghan is confident, she speaks. When she's cornered, she disappears. Harry's departure only deepened the unease. Communication between them reportedly froze. Calls unanswered, messages unread. For the first time, the image of unity cracked. This fictional chapter leaves one question hanging heavily in the air. Is Meghan silent because the truth will destroy her, or because she's preparing to rewrite it one last time? The royal institution responds, quietly but permanently. The monarchy did not react with outrage. It reacted with finality. Inside Clarence House, senior aides and constitutional advisors convened in rooms where decisions are made without emotion and without headlines. In this fictional scenario, the conclusion was reached quickly and unanimously. Uncertainty cannot exist inside the royal bloodline. Draft documents began circulating with language that was precise, cold, and devastating. The phrase used repeatedly was full royal disassociation, not punishment, not exile. Correction. One advisor reportedly said, "This isn't about Harry or Meghan. This is about the crown surviving another century." Under ancient protocol reinforced by the 1917 letters patent, lineage ambiguity equals removal. Titles do not exist without verification. Baptism records, genealogical confirmation, and constitutional alignment are not optional. They are foundational. The Church of England was quietly consulted. Legal historians were brought in. Every step followed precedent, not sympathy. By the end of the week, internal files were updated. Archie and Lilibet's names no longer appeared in future ceremonial planning or succession modeling. No public announcement followed. None was needed. As one palace insider summarized with chilling calm, "The monarchy never shouts. It simply moves on." And in that movement, doors closed without being slammed. Media eruption. A world demands answers. The silence from both sides created a vacuum, and the global media wasted no time filling it. Within hours of the fictional fallout surrounding Prince Harry's alleged family discovery, newsrooms across continents scrambled for sources, quotes, and clarity. But there was none. No statements, no confirmations, no denials. Just one thunderous silence. And into that, the storm came roaring. Broadcast banners flashed red. Royal bloodline scandal? Harry walks out after paternity revelation? DNA crisis in Montecito? Anchors stuttered through speculation, while pundits rushed to reframe years of royal coverage. Every clip of Archie and Lilibet was dissected in slow motion. Every phrase from Meghan's Oprah interview was replayed for hidden meaning. Documentaries were rewritten. Podcast episodes were pulled. Fact-checkers threw up their hands. And then came the voice the monarchy both dreads and fuels. Piers Morgan. On air, in a chilling fictional monologue, he spat, "If this is true, it's not just a betrayal of Harry. It's a betrayal of the crown, the public, and every family who looked to them as something real. This would be the most audacious illusion the monarchy has ever tolerated." Social media fractured instantly. Hashtags detonated across platforms. Hashtag DNAgate. Hashtag whose kids are they? Hashtag lineage lies. Hashtag Meghan must speak. Hashtag Prince of Nothing. Thousands defended Harry as a broken man, blindsided by love. Others accused Meghan of calculated betrayal, turning a fairy tale into a farce. Some claimed both were victims of royal machination. Most simply begged, "Please, someone tell the truth." Even Meghan's most loyal public defenders, influencers, commentators, former colleagues, went quiet. Paid media alliances stalled. Netflix partners paused. PR firms refused comment. The public could sense it. When even your supporters stop talking, it's because they don't know what to say. Forums flared into digital bonfires of conspiracy. Was there surrogacy? Were there sealed contracts? Were the children born via donor embryos? Why was the christening unrecorded? Why were birth details changed? Most theories were baseless. All were damaging. In the age of information, Narrative fills the gap that truth refuses to enter. A royal media analyst summarized the unfolding chaos in one brutal sentence. The truth doesn't matter as much as the uncertainty, and uncertainty destroys credibility faster than facts. Amid this fictional frenzy, the palace said nothing. Meghan's team issued no rebuttal. Harry remained unseen, and the longer the silence stretched, the more the narrative calcified, not into truth, but into something even harder to erase. Suspicion. And suspicion, once seeded into the public mind, blooms like a vine. It wraps around every photo, every memory, every title, until the fairy tale crumbles. In a world trained to believe the storybook, this was a page torn out, rewritten, and left unfinished. And no one, not palace, nor press, nor public, knew how it would end. Would a statement come? Would the truth surface? Or was this, in some chilling fictional way, the new truth, one written in silence and sealed in shame? Prince Harry's isolation, alone, angry, and unraveling. By the 9th day, Prince Harry had spoken to almost no one. His security detail, normally briefed for external threats, now stood watch over an internal collapse. He was holed up in a private estate in Santa Barbara, a property loaned by a long-trusted friend known for their media discretion. The gates were shut, curtains drawn, cell service spotty by choice. Those closest to him described Harry as hollow, unreachable, and eerily still. The man once known for passion, movement, and emotional candor was now operating in emotional silence, the kind that unsettles even professionals. His only consistent communication was with a single mental health advisor, on standby but not intrusive. Staff reported minimal responses, mostly one-word replies, some only nods. Emails went unopened. Schedules were wiped clean. In this imagined descent, he had cut Meghan off completely. No arguments, no confrontation, just distance. Calls from her went unanswered. Texts were unread. Their joint assistants described the Montecito household as running on autopilot. The nursery was silent. The kitchen unused. Meghan, reportedly under lockdown with her crisis team, did not know what Harry's next move might be. The separation wasn't formal, but it was absolute. One friend, allowed inside only once during this period, described the atmosphere as like walking into a haunted house, except the ghost was still alive. He shared what Harry confided in a whisper. "I don't know who I'm protecting anymore." For Harry, this was more than a crisis. It was a total unraveling of identity. The man who sacrificed royal titles, military roles, and even his homeland in the name of love, now stood on a cliff edge, looking back and asking if the path had ever been real. He reportedly asked one haunting question to a lifelong friend over a late-night conversation that lasted less than 5 minutes. If the story I lived for isn't real, what am I left with? His wedding vows, his children's names, his war with the crown, all of it was now under a shadow of doubt. Therapists were called. Advisors hovered from a distance, but no one pushed him, because those closest knew he wasn't grieving an event, he was grieving a narrative. For the first time, Harry was not running from the monarchy. He was not raging against the media. He was not protecting Meghan. He was fleeing something far more painful: himself. A man stripped of certainty has nothing left to fight with. And those who once painted him as the rebel prince now saw the truth in this fictional saga. He wasn't a rebel. He was a believer. And belief, once broken, leaves no clean pieces behind. As he sat alone in the stillness, No crown, no cameras, no answers. The weight of legacy, fatherhood, betrayal, and silence collapsed into him. And so, the man who once walked away from the crown had never felt more completely alone. What comes next? Reckoning, return, or ruin? In the hushed rooms of the palace and the echo chambers of global media, one question now looms. What happens next? Prince Harry, in this fictional scenario, stands at a crossroads darker than any he has faced before. Not between duty and independence, not between monarchy and modernity, but between truth and illusion, and the very identity of fatherhood. Legal teams, both in the UK and California, are reportedly reviewing potential next steps. If the disputed lineage becomes a legal matter, Harry may seek full disclosure, demanding official testing or filing for custody clarification under jurisdictional laws. But doing so means tearing open wounds no child should endure. Palace aides are already gaming scenarios. Some believe this could become the final breach that strips Harry and Meghan of all remaining formal ties. Titles dissolved quietly, security revoked, ceremonial references erased. A senior insider put it plainly: if bloodlines no longer align, neither do privileges. But there is another possibility, whispered behind closed doors, never spoken publicly, that Harry might come home. Not as the rebellious duke, not as the runaway prince, but as a man who has lost everything he thought he was fighting for and sees the institution he left with different eyes. For the first time since Megxit, some within the firm view Harry not as a threat, but as a victim of deception. Still, that path is steep. The crown forgives slowly, and the public, now weary from years of royal conflict, may not welcome a full return. Especially not with Meghan still shrouded in silence, her brand dimming, her alliances shrinking. Without the royal connection, her influence may dissolve into the Hollywood fog from which it once emerged. But the deepest question of all, the one no title, press release, or legal document can answer, lies with the children. Archie and Lilibet, born into a story they didn't ask to join, raised in the crossfire of legacy, expectation, and now, doubt. If the royal line no longer recognizes them, if the crown closes the book without their names, what remains? A senior historian called it symbolic orphaning. A quiet exile not of geography, but of belonging. And yet, even in this fictionalized storm, the monarchy marches on. The corridors of Windsor are being scrubbed of references, planning documents adjusted, future ceremonies rewritten, not with fury, but with formality. As if this chapter, no matter how explosive, is simply being edited out. Because, for the institution, lineage is law. And once that law is broken, even in fiction, the only thing left to do is close the book, turn the page, and move on. This isn't just scandal, it's devastation. If the DNA revelations hold truth, Prince Harry isn't just facing a broken marriage, but a broken identity. He sacrificed everything to protect the family he believed he had, only to now question whether that family was ever truly his. Meghan's silence only deepens the mystery, while palace insiders brace for the institutional consequences. Archie and Lilibet, once seen as the hopeful bridge between monarchy and modernity, now face uncertain futures. Titles may be stripped, lineage records may be revised, but the deepest wound is personal. A father who may not be a father at all. The monarchy, always rooted in bloodline and legacy, cannot ignore what DNA uncovers. And for Harry, The man who once turned his back on the crown, the irony is cruel. He may now find himself more exiled than ever, from a truth he never saw coming.